So this is going to be a quick video just to show you how I bring drums into my projects. And specifically, I'm talking drums this time, but this is really for any instruments you hired other people to do, or you're working with friends and they bring to you remotely. And this is for Reaper, although I imagine for Pro Tools or any other DAW, it's going to be somewhat similar. So I'm going to show my process. I use Fiverr quite a bit to get drums recorded, keys, and then I've done some things like pedal steel. Bass I normally play myself, acoustic guitar I play myself, electric rhythm guitar I play, and then I have a lead guitar player in Stockholm, Sweden. I work with him directly, so he's not part of the Fiverr people that I hire. And a couple tips when working on Fiverr, don't be afraid to ask people for an audition. Pay for it. They're giving their time, but sometimes you'll see they have like a 30-second, hey, 30 seconds, I'll do X. And if you can do that, you can audition people and get an idea of what they're going to produce for you. But a lot of times it's not so expensive. I've hired 2 different people to do the same part for me just to see what I get back. But normally I have people I've worked with, pretty comfortable with some of the people I get that give me great files, great performances. So if you're unfamiliar, let me show you what Fiverr is. So Fiverr is this website where you can search for any kind of freelance services. I look specifically for, like I said, drummers, keys, things like that. But if you were to look for background vocals, for instance, you're going to have all these options and you can kind of listen to what they do. So you can, I'll sing your background vocals, harmonies, and ad-libs. Okay, so if I take a look at what he does, you can kind of see his examples.
Domingo, take a look at these live clips I put together.
Cause we like to party. Fooled me,
Pretty loud.
crushed me, hurt me, dumped me.
So anyways, that's what Fiverr is. You can find kind of whatever it is you're looking for. Now I'm going to go to my project. So we're in Reaper. This is the actual project that I've already brought the drums in, but we're going to show how we did that. You can see I've muted out my lead-in click and my full click track here. But either way, so let's hear what we've got right here.
Baby, we are moonlight in your eyes, lace on my fingertips, our bodies entwined.
So you can hear those are all the individual drum stems that I brought in. Okay, quick definition if you're unfamiliar with what stems are just those recorded tracks that other people have created. When I get my drum tracks, they'll send me a full mixed track much of the time, but I really just want the individual stems, so each drum that's been recorded. So that's kind of how it looks in the project. So let's go to my sample project where all I have right now is I have a click. I actually have a click with an 8 count lead in. I always include an 8 count lead in at the start of my projects, assuming it's 4/4 beat. I include an 8 count lead in because I don't want to use the click track and it'll give me a lead in. It won't start recording till after it does, like 8 counts or whatever you tell it to do. But I don't want it to do that. And there's a number of reasons. I want to control that. So I include 8 counts right here. So, you've got 2 full measures before I start recording. And then when I send that out to my musician I'm working with on Fiverr, I tell them to include those 2 measures at the start of whatever they send back to me. So the song I send to them looks a little bit like this, or sounds a little bit like this. This is what I sent when I was hiring out to get the drums on this particular track. So we'll take a look. All right, so you can see that I included an 8 count lead in. I actually included 7 beats and then gave just a blank space. it's not even as though they'll need it, but I want it included there, and I want them to include that when they return their files to me, and I'll show how that works. The reason I end up doing the click the way that I do in Reaper, I'm going to add a new track here. I'll just throw it at the top. If I enable the metronome, then I can do this thing where it just says I'm on this track, and I say insert click source. Now what that's given me, if I mute the, or I mean solo this, it's just given me the same thing my click would give me. I turn off the click. So what I'll do with that is, typically, I copy it first, I split it right there, and drag it to the start, and that creates that click lead in, which I put on its own track. Then I put the rest of this click on a new track. So we don't have to do this right now, but I'm just showing you how I got there. So, and then I would simply drag this over the length of the song till I'm coming to an end. Now, why do I want the click source as opposed to using the click? Well, there's a couple reasons. I'm going to get rid of this, but I'm just showing you how I created what I have down below. So we'll remove those two tracks. So you can see here that I have a part in my song where I have a little break, and then it goes to a part where the song breaks down a little bit. It gets quieter. And so when I'm recording vocals or guitar, I want to avoid any of my click or drum tracks I'm working with from bleeding through my headphones into the microphone that I'm recording on. So here you'll see what I've done is I've just lowered the volume of both the click and the drums on the part where it gets quieter. So we'll listen to that.
Here I am thinking I'm finally through. I can't
I'll
keep
even lower it a little bit
doing
more.
what I always do. But then
Then
you appear
the drums are going
at
to come
my
back
door.
in there, so I elevate the volume a little bit again. So anyways, that's how I prepare my track. I record to it, then I get everything kind of set up, and then I send out for my drums or other instruments. Now, a lot of times when I get drums, I'll just re-record my guitar or my bass to it because I want to play off those drums in that performance, and sometimes that's just a better way to do it. So it's worth going back and getting a whole new recording if you need to. So in any case, so now I have this is my track, and now I want to bring his drums into this project. So let me bring up those files. So here's the drum stems that he sent me. We can see that there's hi-hats, a kick sub, his kick, overheads. There's a reference mix, which is the entire mix. I don't need that brought in. I have a ride, I have room, stereo, I have snare bottom, I have snare top, and I have toms 1 and 2. So what I can do is I can grab all of these. Now where I'm going to grab them is bring them into the bottom of my project, and I'll kind of show you why. So I grab them all, and then I unclick the reference track because I don't need that. And then I bring these down here to this open area. And Reaper does some things, and it says same time position on separate tracks. That's how I want to import everything. So now here are the drums. They're all brought in, and they're not really organized the way I want them to be organized. So the other thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to insert a new track, drag it to the top. This is going to become my DRM folder. And now if I hold down left shift, that'll drag and make it subordinate. Now I can make every track subordinate just by dragging up to it. But what I'm going to do is the kick sub is going to go, it's going to be my first track. Going to find my other kick right here, put it right below that. I'm going to then go with my snare, and I'm going to put the snare top on top of that. Hi-hats are good where they are. After the hi-hat, I put the ride. Then I put my toms. and I want them indented in the same fashion. So I drag them. You can see kind of the blue line up there when I drag it up. Lets me know it's going to be on the same line as those. So now I have all of those kind of brought in. So I'll actually end up renaming these as well, just to make it a little more cohesive. Also, I have a color template plugin that's free. You can get with, it's a free plugin. So I'll do something like this: DRM, kick sub. I'm not going to name all of them, but the reason I do that is if I go here to extensions and auto color layout, brings this up, which I prefix the name of my tracks with certain characters so I know what tracks they are. So when I apply this, I haven't done it to all the drums, but you see it makes them all orange. Okay, so that just lets me see what my drums are. Now, once I have them all subordinate to this, I can minimize this a little bit. I can click on that, which gives me just, they're all kind of contained here. It's easier for me to see. And now I'm going to go here and I'm going to drag my drum tracks up to the top. So now they're at the top of my project. That's where I like to organize them. I usually do drums, bass, percussion, keys, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, vocals, backing vocals. That's how I lay out my projects. So now I can expand this out. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab every one of these tracks and I'm going to reduce the volume to nothing. So now there's no audio from the drums, but notice that the drums, because I told them to include that 8-count lead in, they line up here. I know my drums come in at the verse, they don't come in at the very start of the song. So we heard that, except for the hi-hats that come in and a little bit of the ride, right? You hear those cymbal sounds come in when he does that little sound. So everything's lined up. So it's really simple. So let's take a look at the next thing I do. What I'm going to do is a couple things. I'm actually going to put another track here. I'm going to do FX, reverb, drums. Go to here to FX. I have a chain Abbey Road EQ with Valhalla reverb. What it does is it brings in an EQ that, I call it Abbey Road. It's kind of a simulation of what that Abbey Road reverb effect, where you cut out your lows and highs, you do a little bit of manipulation here, and I'll play around with it after the fact. Then I go into my Valhalla verb. I'm going to find something I like here, so a preset. Let's just take a drum plate. Fine. So there's our current reverb. We're not even going to worry about it much more than that. It's, let's see, 100% wet, so I'm just going to do a send to it. So what I'm going to do now is take the drum folder, not each individual drum. We might play around with this later and change it, but I'll just drag it up here and give it a little bit of reverb. And we'll look at the effect of it without having it, with having it. So the first thing we'll do is I'll just mute this, and I'm going to go right here where the drums come in, and I'm going to solo the drums, and I'll just do this so I can loop over and over. And I'm just going to start bringing my drums in a little bit, right? So we start playing this, which there's no audio. Now I'll bring in the sub here a little bit. And I'll bring my kick up, right? Now I'm going to bring my snare in, and actually with my snare I will do something else here. I'm going to insert, let me pause the recording. I'm going to insert another track. We're going to call this snare, we'll call it DRM, snare folder. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put both of these snare drums in here, and that's because sometimes I'll play around with my snares a little bit more and give them some effects, like a little delay on the snare to give it a little pop. So anyways, so now I've brought those into a folder, so I'm going to start this up again. And now I can start to bring up my snare bottom or top. Bring up the bottom a little bit. So now let's just hear the snare sound. So whatever, we can play around with that to get a sound we want. And let's bring up our hi-hat. Now I'm not going to bring in anything else yet, but let's go up here and unmute our reverb. And then we start bringing in other stuff. So I don't have toms until back here, but let's bring in this. I'll bring these up a little bit. And then we have our stereo overheads. All right. Now that's enough for me to start. And now I can remove that selection. But now I can go up here and see what it sounds like with the entire song. Well, let's get rid of our MIDI drums. And we'll just get rid of all of that stuff.
Baby, here we are, moonlight in your eyes, lace on my fingertips, our bodies entwined, but
Now, by no means it's ready, but you kind of see how I brought those in. Some other things that I do is on my drum folder here, I'm actually going to do a couple things. I'm going to use the Infinistrip. I also do one other thing. I've got another FX chain. And this is, let's see, clean drums. Now this just cuts out some frequencies that can be problematic, and it makes your drums sound a little bit cleaner. So if we look at this,
baby, here we are, moonlight in your eyes, lace on my fingertips, our bodies entwined, but come on in light as I look around.
and I haven't done anything with the Infinistrip. Usually what I'll do with that Infinistrip is find a drum bus preset and work from there. We'll go to drums, and let's just do rock bus.
Baby, here we are, moonlight in your eyes, lace on my fingertips, our bodies entwined, but come on in light as I look. Baby, here we are, moonlight in your eyes.
So hopefully that just gives you an idea of what possibilities exist there if you're a songwriter, if you're looking to add some real instruments to your productions, meaning you don't want to program drums. I do some of that, but I really like getting a real drummer sitting in on a set, or a real keyboard player. I can do a little keys, but I'm so awful at it, it takes me forever. It actually, from a time standpoint, costs me far less to go hire out and have these people play for me and then bring their projects in. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how you can bring people that you hire or friends that record at their own home and send you files into your projects. But if you have any questions, let me know. Would love to hear from you. Just giving you kind of insight into the things I do. And if you like what you saw and it was interesting, certainly like the video and subscribe to my channel and leave me a comment. Would love to hear from you. Thanks.
Baby, we are moonlight in your eyes, lace on my fingertips, our bodies entwined, but